So I decided to do my predictions for the upcoming Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, and I took a little bit of time to try to think about different characters that seem ideal to me, not about what others are picking. And I wanted to come out with my own little choices that I think could fit this game. Before I even start selecting characters, I'm gonna say this right now. I hope that everybody in this game makes it. I don't want to see cut characters like Oblina. I don't know what they're gonna do for Hugh Neutron. And I want to see what this roster looks like and all of the great characters in this roster. And I was saying this way before this game came out and came to fruition as a real game that's coming out set for October 24th if the date changes. But all these characters in this game belong, and I wouldn't remove anyone in this game, not because I don't watch the show, I'm not a fan of the show. It's about the character potential of what they are capable of and what they can be capable of in the match and on the battlefield themselves. And when I got this game, when it's released, I've been playing it ever since. But the only two characters I didn't know was these two siblings, Lincoln and Lucy Loud, because I don't watch too much of the Loud House, but I was introduced to these characters because of this game. But everything else, I grew up watching from the 90s era, from all these shows. You got single reps from Zim to Rocco, so I feel like they might get additional characters from these shows. But it could be anybody. I feel like this roster could be huge. It could be anyone that they go for. Maybe things could get changed. They might end up going after someone else that you least expect. I just seeing the screenshots, the character models just real quick. Everything looks amazing for this game, and I'm most excited to play this story. But let's start talking about these characters. Just again, I hope that everybody in this roster makes it into the sequel. I don't want to see any cut characters. TMNT already has the most characters with 6 characters. Well, 6 reps. You got all 4 turtles finally together, united, and you got April and Shredder being able to be carried over. We haven't even seen Shredder yet, but I think he's going to be in the game as well. But hopefully they don't cut out Oblina or anybody else. I guess we'll have to find out when they reveal the roster. But let's start talking about these characters, the characters that I picked for DLC, and I'm going to just say it. I selected 15 characters that I think could be ideal. And some of these picks, just looking at my list right now, I'm just going to copy and paste in the description. You don't have to watch the full video if you don't want to, unless you want to hear what I think about certain characters. But my character picks, my picks of 15, I think can be the most realistic to be able to be in this game and have a good chance of getting into the game, except just looking at, I would say, 2 of them in particular that I think wouldn't probably get in. But I just think this list is more ideal just from my own personal picks. Now I'm gonna just start right now. Tigre, I think can already probably, maybe safe to assume that he's gonna be in the game somehow, some way, possibly. Hopefully he gets in. I think he's gonna be one of the first 4 picks, the first set of characters for this first DLC pack for the slots. And I know they're going to go above and beyond to add more as time goes on in the future and next year and things like that. So I selected Tigre first. And some of these characters, I didn't want to just pick more than one rep. I wanted to go beyond just different worlds of the NCU and different characters that I wanted to see shine and get a spotlight in this game. And I did slip in some other characters that's, additional reps. But like this one, for example, from My Life as a Teenage Robot, you got Jenny here as a solo representing her own show. Why not have Queen Vexus? This is another pick that I selected. Why not Queen Vexus try to stop her in her tracks to get her to join the Cluster Prime, as she says. And she's like, I'll never join the Cluster. So Queen Vexus can be able to, I think Queen Vexus is probably going to be one of these characters that they'll pick. Tigre and Queen Vexus, I definitely think have the strongest chances of getting picked first amongst this first selection of characters. And then a new modern show, and you guys know Nickelodeon. Big Nate is one of those newer modern shows that's been getting promoted, and it just got its most recent season. I think Nickelodeon will be up in the developers' ears to try to get Big Nate in this game, to put him in it, to promote the show, to promote the character. And I even made a moveset about him from a character request for some of you guys that wanted to see Big Nate make it into this game. And I think Big Nate is probably one of those characters that people didn't really bring up in the polls. He never has had a spot in the poll. He hasn't made top 10, he hasn't made top 15, top 20, top 25. If either of those sort of scenarios, Big Nate has never been popped up and brought up for some of you guys from the fan base. And I recently started watching the show. He's a really good character. He's a prankster. Always causing trying to skill class, things like that. Big Nate is a great character pick for the devs to really pick and select. I would say Big Nate is a Nickelodeon pick. And I could really picture him being revealed as one of the newest DLC characters. So I put him up in a list. Now for Fairly Odd Parents, see this? It doesn't even bring up the big question mark, but it's just a question mark. Does he finally have a chance to get into the game? Especially in this day and age, with this sequel getting as much hype as it is getting, Nickelodeon might be convinced to really probably try to get these guys in, and maybe even the developers themselves will probably want to push for these characters. He's been one of the top most requested, if not the most requested character to be in this kind of game. He got into the tennis game, all they did was get legal permission. They can do the same thing and come to an agreement with Timmy Turner. Hopefully they can. It might take a little bit longer. He might be one of the last characters to get revealed. Trying to get those negotiations and come to an agreement. But I think the developers can definitely shoot for him for this kind of game for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. It's a heavy hitter. And with all the hype and all the different new features and all the things that they changed for this game, this is a game for Timmy to finally be able to shine and get back into a console game, a major platform in this new era of gaming. Why not put Timmy Turner into the game? And then just moving on to the next one, I think Rocket Power is the most underrated Nickelodeon show, and it's one of my personal picks. No one talks about Rocket Power. No one talks about Rocket Power. No one brings them up. They don't really get into the spotlight as much in comparison to the Loud House and these other characters in SpongeBob, TMNT alike. Rocket Power is not really brought up that often, so I had to get a Rocket Power rep. I selected Reggie Rocket. I think Otto or Reggie could probably get into this game. Maybe they might go for one of these Rocket Power characters, but I'm a little bit curious, will they even try to go back in time to pick up some of these characters? But you got 90s reps like Ablina already up in the show. So what's stopping them from probably getting Rocket Power to get added? So I hope that they can add someone for Rocket Power, a new rep that's underrated, and then top hits like Otis. Try to get through some of these. I put Otis in my list. He's already in the most recent little top hits for people that want to see. And then Cat Scratch. Let's get one of the Cat Scratch reps. Mr. Blik, I put him in it. They could probably add it. They could probably put it on Gordon and Waffle alongside of them, so they could play as a trio, switch between the different cats. Unless Mr. Blik comes in solo, I'm not sure what they'll do with them. But even if he gets in by himself, just have that show get some kind of representation. Cat Scratch, Rocket Power, things like that. And someone that I think can probably be more than guaranteed to join. My next character pick, Zuko from the Fire Nation. You don't have anybody representing the Fire Nation. He got into Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 as a playable character, so that will probably mean that he has to be one of those ideal characters that's guaranteed to be in the roster. I'm not sure if, some people are saying he might be in the base roster, but if he's not in the base roster, I think he's probably going to be one of those characters that's going to be in the game. But just again, they don't have anyone representing the Fire Nation. This is a game for Zuko to show off his firebending skills, to really be a force to be reckoned with. So I slipped in Zuko in. And then an additional character, I wanted to slide in a villain. I don't think SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, and Squidward is going to be it. I think they're going to get another character for SpongeBob. Maybe Plankton or Mr. Krabs. But I had to go with Plankton because I feel like this game needs more villains. There's not enough villains getting represented and shown. Plasmius, hopefully he's playable. We don't know. But it's nice to see a iconic villain from Danny Phantom get in. Hopefully he is in the roster. But the fact that he's in the game, he's probably unlockable. So I went with Plankton as a potential villain. And then for my 10th pick, the Angry Beavers. We need more duos. I think they could be together because they're always around each other. Daggett and Norbert. At least how I put them together in a recent video. I think Daggett and Norbert could fight as a duo, and you could swap between the Beavers and they'll have their own unique moves. That's how I think they could play. I don't care if they separate the characters, but I just want them to be able to get into the game because it's just another show that's not really brought up, and it's not up there like SpongeBob and the Loud House and things like that. You could go old school with Angry Beavers, and this would be a great game for them to really be able to cause some trouble on the battlefield. So those are just my main top 10 picks, but I added in an additional 5 bonus characters to wrap this predictions video up. So I went with Kappa Mikey. I recently got into the show. I think he could be cool to be added with his little abilities. And then that map, I forgot the name of the stage that I made for him when I was watching the show, for the scenery, things like that. And then a chalk zone rep like Snap. This is my bonus picks. You got Kappa Mikey, Snap, Glitch Test Miko I put in. And then my last 2, Dudley Puppy from Tough Puppy. Or they can get Kitty Caswell, but I put Dudley Puppy in. And then last but not least, another Nickelodeon pick. Maybe somebody from Monster High might get picked. It's a modern show. It's a modern movie. It's getting promoted heavily, like Big Nate. So I wanted to get 2 Nickelodeon picks that could be more ideal. I'm not sure if Monster High is going to get into the game, but I did talk about Draculaura that some of y'all wanted to see in this game. And each character in the Monster High series has their own special abilities and their own little powers, especially characters like Draculaura, for example. So I think she's really a great character that could be picked up by Nickelodeon to be added into the roster. So that's just 15 characters. I could have added so much more characters today. And it's just so many that they could put in. Another rep for Zone, Professor Membrane, maybe even Dib. Gas can get into the game. Going back to Rocco's world, Big Man. Some of y'all brought up Ed Big Head, and just for example, really big man. Maybe some of his best friends could get in here. One of his friends from the show, Rocco's Modern Life. And then Sheen, Carl, I can just name more. It was a guy who's coming up with a DLC later on this year for TMNT Shredder's Revenge. He's probably one of the characters. What's a guy? And then that'll be 7 characters for TMNT. But to see how the options go on, some people brought up Waffle Woman for Ren and Stimpy. You know, Korra, I forgot some of the characters in Korra, The Legend of Korra. The Greasers. You see the creativity behind that? The Greasers. Some of y'all want to see Tommy. I think Angelica is an ideal pick. I was going to put her in the list. Eliza. See, I just could have kept this going on and on and on. John Arbuckle. Odie. Danny Phantom has so many good villains. Where's Arnold at? Maybe he's probably in it. Freak Show for Danny Phantom. Johnny 13 with Shadow. Spectra. Ember. Skulker. See all the options? They got too many. Got Crane come up in here, start causing trouble. Karai. Somebody from the Purple Dragons clan. Han from the Purple Dragons. Anybody remember him? See, it's just so many characters they can get. So I could have made this a lot longer. But this is just 15 characters that I can see probably getting added. But I think the highest characters that's probably going to get a big chance is definitely Queen Vexus. And then a Nickelodeon pick, I'm going to go with Big Nate from this list. I think those are some of the most guaranteed, and Zuko possibly, most guaranteed picks to be able to show up in this game. Vexus, Big Nate, and Zuko, and then Plankton. Somebody to add on to the SpongeBob reps. But I don't want them to add too many reps from the same shows. It'll take away the chances of other series getting a spotlight and getting some kind of recognition. You know what I mean? So let me know what y'all think. What's some of y'all picks? I just think some of these picks that I named are more realistic, but I think it's gonna be tough to get Timmy Turner as much as we want him in. But I think this is the biggest chance and the biggest opportunity for them to grab that character, go after the characters that they want, and just go get the characters that the fans out there wants for the community. But for me, I don't really mind who gets into the game. I'm glad that the game is real. I'm glad that the game is going to be playable in my favorite month of the year, the spookiest month ever for October. That's all I got to say. So I don't care who they get. I'm just glad the game is real. I'm excited to play it and have fun. And it has crossplay with an amazing story that's going to give me subspace and mystery vibes. And we're not going to be stuck with this arcade that we have. We're going to have plenty to do. And then with crossplay, everybody's going to be able to play. So I'm more excited about that. But I can't wait to see who they reveal and what these characters are. And just again, hopefully they'll be able to do so much more. They don't settle. They keep dishing out content to be able to keep this game flowing so it doesn't get too stale for players and people don't drop it so quickly.